Bonjour, bienvenue à tous. Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Once again, we will do a efficient GM prep video. This time I did the prep beforehand. I might do it quite a few times from now on just to make it more efficient for you guys. So I did my prep for session 35. We are still coming back from A Blooming Vale. We're still playing Symbaroum. It's an excellent game from the Swedish game designer Free League. We're in this here, voila, Wrath of the Warden, and inside there's a adventure landscape called A Blooming Vale. We just finished that. Last session, our group got back to Thistlehold, which is the city where they were, like their base, their home base, if you want. And they are still completely shook by what happened. It was a very intense exploration in the Vale. They found out many things. They battled hard. It was quite the thing. It was their first foray in Davokar, so they sort of took the measure of the danger. So I'm just going to have a little wine here. If you want to do the same, be my guest. I'm drinking, it's called Chateau La Levrette. So for the French speakers out there, maybe this will make you smile a bit. Anyways, so cheers to all. What I will do is I will present to you what I had, like my notes. It's a few pages of notes. I'll tell you why I decided to do that. How long it took me to do that. I always aim for 1 hour of prep for 4 hours of gameplay. That's the minimum. Now this was the holiday, so we had a bit more time on our hands. So the GM tools that I presented in the previous video about Thistlehold, all those things were done on extra time. I didn't include that in the hour, of course, and I erased. I thought I left it here. I didn't. So I remember that it was 1 hour 15 minutes it took me to do that, to do that prep. So I will just dive in and we will go through what I prepped and why. So here it is. This is the document. Let's go to the top. So the thing that is really interesting with this part of the story is that we're setting up things for the Wrath of the Warden. It's the first time in this campaign that there's a downtime. By a downtime, I mean a moment where the PCs can do what they want. They will have a few weeks, maybe a few months to do things before like major drama kicks in again. So that's one thing. So for me, it's really the occasion to start building the tension and the threads and I'm just putting seeds into the ground. Basically, that's what I'm doing. I'm just sowing the ground to make it as thick as possible. So when things start to grow and to bloom, I'll have many threads to choose from. Because as we know in role-playing games, the players don't do what you think they'll do. So if you just planned on one thing, you say, okay, I'm going to put I'm going to foreshadow this thing, and I put this seed in the ground, and it will be a great tree later on. And then they just leave. And your seed stays there all by itself, weeping. That's not good. That's not good. And that will happen. So the way I do it is I just throw tons of seeds. Like everywhere I can put them, I put them. Because I'm the one who decides which ones will bloom. Because if, of course, the PCs too, when they choose to go in this direction, they tell me, the players, by what they choose, tell me what they're interested in. I already have a few seeds in that direction. So I can just make them bloom. The other ones, either I let them grow by their own pace and they become background stuff and might become important later on. Or if they're not that major or important and they're just, cumbersome, I just let them die off. Those seeds just die off. So that's what we're doing right now. We're planting seeds. So the first idea that I had, well, if I go back to my little booklet here, I had my questions. I just answered all the questions, I think. So when I start prepping, what I do is I always ask a few questions. It's almost a reflex right now. I don't really necessarily consciously always do it, but it's always there in my head. So what's the starting point of the session? How will the next session start? I want a strong start with immediate immersion. How will I build tension from there? What are my elements that I have, my story elements that I have to create tension? What locations and NPCs I need to flesh out, of course. And which tools would it be nice to have? Tables, random events, whatever. So in this case, the starting point of the session is the end of their debrief. Like they just all got together in Edogai's boutique, in his shop, in his blacksmith place in Thistlehold. They're together. They talked a bit last session. Some of them left, so we'll pick up there with the ones that are left in the boutique, in the shop. I think I will have my first event to kick off the session, because when we start the session, you need something strong, you need something interesting right from the bat. I think it will be a visit by Erlaber Haaras. Erlaber Haaras is a major character in Wrath of the Warden. Spoilers, if you didn't understand yet, this is not for players, this is only for GMs, this video. So Erlaber is, the way I introduced him in my campaign is he knows the parents or the family of Mikariol, which is the mage from Alberator, and they met, and they, he was very nice to him and gave him some wine and had a chat and wished him a welcome in Thistlehold and all that. And so, and he is a co-creditor of this expedition that they were on, so he wants to know what happened, and he wants to know first. So that's why he might come by right at the beginning of the session. How will I build tension? We will see as we go through the elements of my prep. So first of all, one thing that's really great is that Kullinan Furia, which is also a major character of the upcoming campaign, he is in Thistlehold to study the effects of corruption and to discover if corruption can be used as a power source. Of course, he didn't say that to anyone. Nobody knows that yet. They all know that he's this big wizard of old and one of the co-founders of the Ordo, and they're all really impressed by him. They find him, of course, a bit mysterious, cold, and scary, but still impressive. And he's on the good guy's side normally. And so Kullinan helped them get out of the Blooming Vale. He heard that there were some knowledge codexes and stuff under the tower. And he has decided that he wants those for himself. So he will return immediately to the Vale to destroy the magic circle and create his own. That is fun. I'm really happy with because the plan, what the players told me, because I always ask them, what do you want to do? And they gave me a few things, and they said, well, for the Vale, we want to go back at some point. We want to, check what's under the tower and all that, but we need to heal up. We need to get rid of permanent corruption. We need to, so it won't be right now. And they feel really confident that this can't slip away from them, because they're one of the few who know where the Vale is, and they have their circle, so they can go right in. But they won't now. So that's fun. So that's behind the scenes. That's just for me to know. He will approach Eufrinda and return with her to the Vale, destroy the magic circle, create his own. He convinces Eufrinda and Tobella to organize a secret expedition. The PCs cannot be trusted. There is too much emotion and wildness to their group, and religious zeal because of the Templar. And Erlaber will be the fall guy, meaning that he will provide some funds, and if ever problems should arise, then the whole thing will have been his idea. So Erlaber is going to know where the Vale is and even visit it because of Kullinan Furia. And what they will find under the tower might become important later because there's some, raised dead ceremonies and stuff like that in there. And Erlaber will learn of the existence of Eox because of this whole expedition, the two expeditions. So that will lead into Wrath of the Warden. That's why when he gets the ritual from the prince, he will think, okay, I know what I can use as a focus for this ceremony. So that's really fun. That's just fun. Second point I created is the snooping Erlaber Haaras. Erlaber wants to make sure he has first access to any finds from the Vale. So Erlaber Haaras, at this point, he's a power-hungry and very sick individual. He has seen his father be a traitor to the nation and join the forces of the Dark Lords, and he was with him on that. But he was too small, and his older brother fled the barony with him, and so he was powerless over his own destiny. He was chugged around and brought to Indaros and everything. And lately, his brother died of a dead liver because he drank too much. And so Erlaber sold everything they had in Indaros and moved to Thistlehold, and there he has established a little shop, and calamity has arrived on his family. His wife and his children died of illness or we don't know what. It's actually even much more somber than that. He has started experimenting sorcery and used them as sacrifices for his horrible deeds. And so I won't go too far into that because it's so dark and depressing. But they might find the remnants of this family at some point. We don't know. And that will be a very horrible moment, but they will never get the details of what happened. Erlaber is very good at masking the fact that he's crazy. He's a very calculating and very wise guy. And so he's using Mikariol to get access to expeditions in Davokar, and he just wants to get lucky and find some cool stuff coming back. That's the only thing he hopes right now. And so he just wants to make sure that what they brought from the Vale, if anything is a bit, on the magic-y side, he wants to get his hands on it as quick as possible. So he will try to find Mikariol. So he might, knock at the door at the boutique at the shop, and they'll tell him that Mikariol is gone to Master Vernum's academy or something like that. But still, he will be there. Then another thing that will happen, a meeting with the Creditors. So we're starting the game, it's at nighttime, there's this Erlaber Haaras comes by. I want to establish really a feeling of a bit cloak and dagger kind of feeling. It's winter in Thistlehold, there's a soft snow falling, they're there to heal up and everything, but I want to just have that little pressure, that little tension, really soft, really smooth. But this is a town of greedy fortune hunters. People want to get the goods before you do. It's just, you need to get this feeling that people literally listen at doors and spy on each other to learn what's going on, where's the next big thing, where's the next big ruin. It's a very competitive atmosphere. It's very Gold Rush like. So I just want to get that in with Erlaber right from the bat. And the next morning, the next day, they will be invited to meet with the creditors. First at noon at the Tower of Ordo Magica. And so I have the whole list of who's there. And I know how to play them. So I just wrote how they're dressed because that's just boring things to invent on the fly. I really, yeah, basically I want to have everything that I can't really create on the fly easily. I wanted to have it written down first. So there we go. That's how they're dressed. So we have Cornelio. He's really happy that all this is closed and done. He's still angry that the expedition was done in his back in the first place by Ufrinda. So he's giving the cold shoulder to Ufrinda because she did not talk to him before sending Tobela out there. And so he's really angry against her. She's acting a bit contrived, but at the same time she's pushing for her way of thinking. She's going to say that it was useful, a great evil was destroyed, blah blah blah. She's going to start doing some politics. Master Gunkai and Ganderald are the elven specialists. They will stay pretty much in the background. Kullinan Furia, same thing. Will just be observing as he does, just soaking in the local politics, trying to see where he can, pluck what he needs. Master Tobela will be the main emotional powerhouse of this scene because she's very emotional. The whole part about her being tormented that I left out of last session, well, I didn't leave it out, but it was a light touch. Now I will really do it justice. She has lost friends. She wants to go back. She wants to get to the bottom of this tower, get the knowledge, because or else they will have died in vain, her friends. So that will probably be like the motor of the scene, and of course the PCs. But if the PCs stay passive, there's going to be some drama unfolding because of her. Father Elfeno is doing a victory lap because he wants to stress to Master Cornelio that these high-risk missions in sensitive places shouldn't be done without the knowledge of the church, that the darkness of Davokar is a great evil that must be combated by the forces of light, and that you can't just leave, even if the greed is a greed for knowledge, you can't send just greedy people out there. And Anadea, I added Anadea because she's a very important character for the beginning of the Wrath of the Warden. And I was thinking, okay, I want the PCs to know her before the next adventure, but I don't want them to know her too much. So what I'm thinking is that she has expressed some discontent at the church, and they asked her to be like the servant of Elfeno for a while. Elfeno sort of took her under his wing, saying, I will take care of the young rebel and I'll teach her the true way. And so she's stone-faced. She's already frustrated about how the church is run. And she might say something about the fact that she might say something out of place, out of turn, and you could see Elfeno be angry about her. So something like that. So she something needs to happen so they notice her, basically, is the idea. And of course Erlaber Haaras will be there because he's one of the creditors, and he just will negotiate hard to get the best pieces, the best artifacts and everything. And so unless the PCs convince them otherwise, the group will agree to keep things quiet and wait for the summer to launch a new expedition if needed, because they could go back to get the body of Eran Kalfas. once this is done, these discussions and everything, and the split of the money and all of that, the witch Yagaba is the consort of Lassifor Night Bitch. She will ask to be received in this assembly, and she will invite everyone to a feast at Night Home the following evening. Because I need to have this kind of I don't know. I need to have Lassifor be aware of what's going on. Okay, next. I'll try to speed up a bit. Corruption, sickness, and healing. So they have suffered a lot of corruption during this adventure. Most of the PCs have quite a few permanent corruption points. So they want to get rid of those. There's not that many ways. They could go back to the sacred spring in the Titans, where they first were witness to purification by the holy waters. This can only happen at the break of dawn if the sun hits the spring. So you need to have sun. You need to have the right time of year, and if you do manage to be there at the right time, then you suffer the effects of the burning and all that, and you have to spend XPs just as if you were doing the ritual. It's called purifying fire, I think, is the ritual. So basically, I'm not against that they get rid of the permanent corruption because it's a pain mechanically if they keep it too long, because it really diminishes their capacities. But once they have it, they're tainted. So I can give them nightmares. I can do all sorts of stuff to them to make them feel this corruption in their body. And it has to last a while. It has to be hard to get rid of. And if you do get rid of it, it has to cost XP. That's the idea. Let's spend that XP. Anyways, so what I'm opting for here, because I don't want them to go back to the Titans if possible, is that they will meet Deseba the Old, and I will put them on the first side mission of the Wrath of the Warden right now. Because the first side mission is, and spoiler again, if you're a player, do not listen to this video. The first mission is that Deseba decides to ask the player characters to protect Sarvola from fanatics that are trying to disrupt his work. And of course, the church cannot be seen to be officially supporting Sarvola, and Father Elfino wouldn't approve anyways. So she asks them to do it like secretly. And in exchange of, she will help them to find who is Anadea. In this case, it will be different once we get there. But the idea here is that she will exchange with them the possibility of having access to some water of the dusk that Father Elfino has. She will convince Father Elfino to help these heroes of Thistlehold. So, but all of this has to be secret. So, this is my plan. So what will happen is that, first of all, Le Demé, she will have a private meeting with Elfino. Elfino will be very proud of her and will start to see the use of having Templars in town that could boost his own power. So he will try to start to make an alliance with her in a way. And he will, if she has, I don't think she has any corruption, but if she does, he will give her freely a drop or two of the water of the dusk. And maybe this whole thing with Deseba will have to be secret from Le Demé. It might get complicated, we'll see. Anyways, so once this is decided, if they decided to go with her, and I believe they will, Anadea will be tasked to bring the PCs to Sarvola. And there they will meet a bit more of Anadea, and they will see that she is very admirative of the ways of Sarvola. And she is very admirative of Deseba the Old. But she's still unsatisfied. It's still not enough. But anyway, she won't tell them everything, but they will just feel her admiration for this man. And then we will play this. We'll start this investigation about the sellswords of the sun, and that will probably lead us into another session, I believe, but we'll see. The other thing that I like that this happens during winter is that in the adventure, the sellswords start throwing flaming brands and Molotov cocktails on a house in a wooden town in a medieval setting. That's just unfortunately not really credible. They would possibly burn the place down. It could be raining. It could be, you could always use other ways to make things less dangerous and more credible. But I think that a heavy snow, like a very very thick snow, could be a way to mitigate danger and to justify that they decide to use that way of harassing Sarvola. They don't necessarily want to kill him. They don't necessarily want to destroy, raze to the ground the mission house. So they just want to scare him off in a way and maybe kill him, maybe injure people. That would be just bonus for them. So I really like that this whole scene will happen under the snow. And I just thought of other things that the PCs could do to try to get rid of their corruption. They could hire goblin thieves to steal the water from the church. They could travel back to the Holy Spring. We will see what happens there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Next point. Winter comes. During the winter, life slows down to a halt, but a few events can still happen. So this is the downtime part. This is if things cool down and they decide to take a few months off, then I have a few ideas to just have a few things happen that give us the sense that there's still life. But it's winter, it's cold, it's, people are not doing a lot of stuff anyways. So what I decided to put in is a letter from the Temple of Ophelia. The Temple of Ophelia is the temple of Lodome's father. She is the daughter of the commander of this temple in the Prios domain. So she will receive a secret letter that confirms to her that Templars carrying something very precious will come through in the spring. So that's just to bring back something she already knows, but I'll just write a handout and it'll be nice and fun. The surviving members of the sellswords renew threats. Could they kill Vernum? That could be something, because Vernum was spared since they managed to protect him during Mark of the Beast. So that could be a very very dark thing that could happen at some point. At least they will renew their threats, and I want the PCs to feel that the sellswords aren't just youngsters. They're backed by a more powerful force, and so we'll see what happens there. If they were completely wiped out during the previous adventure, then maybe it will be something else. Maybe it will be the prince himself hiring people to, get rid of Iron Pact type people. Other thing that could happen: library research on the Vale. I'm going to detail a bit more of that history. The Hurrian Loapak, or the well, reveal cryptic information about the node and the past of the region. I already fleshed out a bit of that. It's really interesting. In fact, it's there's the Ambriagos family, there's another noble family, and there's the giant toad Drot Araka, I think his name is. So there's like a little drama in the past there that they can discover during library research. After having pillaged the Vale, that's Kullinan, Ufrinda, and whoever goes with them, they will do their mission in the Vale and come back. Kullinan Furia isolates himself in a secret location. I just want him out of the way for a moment. I'll decide later what he's doing, but he sort of disappears. This here play this on a turn-by-turn narrative where everyone gets to say what they do 1 month at a time. That's just the way I want to run the downtime. So I want to run the downtime as a discussion where I ask every player what they are doing this month, and if we need to do a little mini role play to conclude or a roll or something, we do it, and I will add my own events that are there to each month. So it needs to be quite quick, this downtime, like maybe a half hour, maybe 45 minutes max, just to get through all of those things and get the feeling of this time that passes, get a few surprises, maybe a few informations. Last idea, I have actually, there's quite a few other ideas there, but here there's Vernum's friends. So Vernum is in contact with Tarakel, an elf, and this elf wants to know what happened with the PCs, because he told them that they were going to the Vale, asking them if that was a problem, and of course it was, but the elves got the information too late, and now they want to know what happened, and they want to do a follow-up on what happened. And so I didn't detail too much of that yet, but also the Copper Crown, sorry, that's the end of the previous trilogy. We did not play Tomb of Dying Dreams yet. We played The Promised Land and then Mask of the Beast, and Mark of the Beast. And the Copper Crown right now is in the Tower of the Ordo Magica in a circle to neutralize its power, and they're still trying to figure out what to do with it. So the elves will sort of put pressure on him and tell him that this crown needs to get back to the tomb where it belongs and to stay dormant there. So there's a little time cooker effect here. They will reveal the tomb's location to Vernum. Vernum might talk to the PCs about that, might talk to Ufrinda, Tobelia, or Kullinan. Anyways, I need to figure all of that, but of course Ufrinda, Tobelia, Kullinan, and Senya are, as soon as they get hold of this information, will move on it. Okay. And last thing, I was saying here that the elves are bluffing. So they're putting pressure on Vernum, but they already have a kind of arrangement with Lasifor, Night Pitch. I mean, they won't come guns blazing and start killing everyone at the Ordo Magica to seize the crown or anything like that. It could come to that later on, but right now it's still, they're still respecting the truce that they have with Lasifor Night Pitch. And then one last thing, that one of my players sent me an email, and he said it's the Miresin the Barbarian. He has rune tattoos all over his body. He's from Clan Inouai in the almost the top north. They are troll tamers. They worship Oroke, the Spider Queen. His story is that when he was young, he had this birthmark on his back near the head. And he was considered weird because of that, or marked, and the witch of the clan considered him to be special, because if you have a mark like that, it means that you were touched by the spirits of the forest. And so she wanted to learn him the ways, and she saw in him a potential pupil, but he wasn't interested, and the others were just laughing at him because he wasn't a real warrior. He was just like witch material, which is a bit, they're weirdos, and so that's his backstory. And then he went with that witch for a while, but then when they did the ritual where he gets bit by spiders to get closer to go into a trance and meet Oroke, things didn't go as planned, and he sort of became crazy, got lost in the woods, fell into a sinkhole, got picked up by goblins, and the goblins gave him his tattoos. So his rune tattoos are actually goblin rune tattoos. So that's the whole story. So Miresin wants to know what's the meaning of this birthmark, and he says, I'm going to do that during my downtime. I want to have answers. So what I came up with, and I think that could be interesting, is that in Thistlehold there is a place called it's a tavern. It's called the Witch and Familiar, and it's the people that are taking care of it is Erlaber, a great big red-haired guy, and his mother or grandmother, I think it's his mother, the witch Agdala. And Agdala is actually an exile from Clan Zarek. She did some stuff, and then Clan Zarek wants her skin, and she fled, and her son protects her here in Thistlehold. And they say that they're Odavs, so they won't get caught by the Zareks. But anyways, she's a witch. And in the barbarian circles, they know who the witches are in Thistlehold. And so he will be directed to her to get answers on his birthmark. And Agdala will meet him in the forest, in a bit further inside the forest under the eaves, where she has her witch circle. And the witch circle is something that's really hard to find if you don't know where it is. So she will give him indication. So we will have a little solo adventure there where he will head out in the snow, maybe with skis, because he's an Enoi, he knows about those, or raquette, how do you say raquette? Snowshoes. And he will go in the forest and find her there, and we will have a nice little role play moment. This is the ideal moment to put in some barbarian culture in there. So what's his sign? It's a kiss from the spirit world. He should be blessed. Do you not see the shades? And then she will lay her hand on the mark and bestow witch sight on Miresin for a minute, and he will see the spirit world. And I had an idea here. I will say the guards, phantoms, okay, near cavern. Okay, I'll detail that later, but basically what will happen there is that she put her witch circle in a place where the land is a bit broken, and under, she calls it a dolmen, but it's just big stones fallen one on top of the other with a crevice inside. So it's like a cavern mouth, and this cavern mouth leads to tunnels that are some of the tunnels that the Beast clan uses that lead to the Crystal Lake under Thistlehold. And this tunnel, if they follow, if they go inside this tunnel a long way, it will be an underground delve, and I'll detail that later. But what will stop them from reaching the lake is that there's a big ravine or like a chasm at some point, and there's like a Beast clan watch post kind of thing with planks that are put across the chasm when they want to go through, and lifted up when you don't want people to come in. So basically it's a choke point, and it will be really hard for them to go beyond. But that's for another day, because it won't happen this session, so I don't care. So, but that's the idea. She will show him this dolmen, and he will see, because she has her hand on his birthmark, he will see the spirit world with its witch sight, and he will see phantoms. The phantoms are from Jesuit guards that died during the storming of Haloban's fortress. And these Jesuit guards are staying in the world of the living because they want to protect what's left of the Beast clan. And they're protecting this entrance to stop people from coming in. So if you want to go in, you'll get confronted by these ghosts. But he won't need to confront anything necessarily. And Yeah, and so that's those are barks here. You are one of the chosen, blessed by the ancient powers of this world. Your destiny is not to be somebody else's squire. And from then on, it's just improv because we'll be role playing this out. So we'll see what happens there. But that could be a really nice moment. And I was thinking if we need some action, I'll just add here. If we need some action, if we need action. Um, Meerkats. Meerkats attack as they come back. So, because that could be fun. Like a pack of meerkats, hungry meerkats, try to attack them, and he's there defending this old witch. It could be a really nice small combat where, you know, when there's not a lot of characters involved, it's very swingy, because if a character falls, then suddenly you're at a net disadvantage. So it comes again to that idea that I did in the previous video, where if you have a situation where statistically the players should make it easily out of the situation, but if the dice go against them and they still fail, even though it's supposed to be easy, then things are really bad. That makes an easy encounter still stressful. And that's what I'm hoping for this one, if I need it. I will use that if I feel that this whole downtime session kind of, you know, is getting a bit too laid back, and that we need a bit of stress for the fun of it, of course. Okay, and lastly, the rest is just notes that I took because I was at in the countryside yesterday, and we were just skiing all day, and it was great. And so I just had ideas pop into my head, and I just wrote them down. And what I found is that I needed that supper at Lassifor that I wrote earlier, but I just detailed a bit more what's going on with that. So Lassifor Night Pitch is curious to know why the church, the Ordo, and a new guy, the Erlaber, the new member of town, were teamed up on this expedition, which is pretty, you know, intriguing, because normally Lassifor won't meet every fortune hunter that goes into Davokar, but when people come back and have such pedigree, he's curious. And during that evening, Agramai Kalfas will be there, because his nephew Eran Kalfas died in that adventure. So they will have the occasion to meet the very lively and well-loved tax commissioner, or is it, no, he's Hygiene, I don't know what his title is, but anyways, he's the prince, secretly known as the prince. But they will meet this guy during that night. So that's another nice little seed that I plant. Other thing that I decided that could be cool is the dragouls. Since they destroyed Ambreagos and they left the Vale, the dragouls are a bit confused. Most of them are barbarians or fortune hunters or alchemists from Umbria, but most of them are let's say, barbarians that weren't respecting the taboos, probably rebels, Odav rebels, and they have lost their purpose. They some of them want to go after Eox. Others want to go back to where they come from. They have this yearning to see home. So basically, these 100 dragouls are sort of just spreading out almost randomly in Davokar. And so during the downtime, I want to have some news, some rumors from rangers or fortune hunters or whatever. Maybe even a band of them would. Maybe those could attack Miresin when he comes out of the forest with the witch. That could be a possibility depending on the timeline. But they need to know that the veil is emptying itself. Last random ideas that I had. Deseba, the old, will also meet Lodomi, the Templar, because she wants to learn about her. She wants to see how fanatical she is. She wants to size her. So that's why I wrote a few barks here. Walk with me, my child. What is Prios to you? Do tell me. And when the darkness is forever banished, what will Prios ask of us then, do you think? So she will try to see what does this girl think of peace. Like once this hard task of destroying darkness is done, what will Prios be? And why can't Prios be this already? That's her point. So that's how she's sort of working her to the more moderate side. So Prios shines his light on all of us, the weak, the strong, the faithful, and the unfaithful. Sarvala is only doing now what is the bidding of the Prios of peace. His fault may be that he is in a hurry, but that is not a crime now, is it? So I have a Templar player, so I need to give him the arguments to play this Templar girl in a way that is compatible with the rest of the group. So this doubt, this religious reflection and dilemma, I'm handing it to him so he can use it as he wants. If he wants to stay a fanatic, he can, but at some point it might expel him from the group if the group becomes a bit too much aligned with the moderates and the Iron Pact. The other thing that on the same vein, I was thinking of having a little scene with Vernam and Micariol. Vernam needs to have this little scene because they need to debrief what happened in the Vale, but on with the Iron Pact attitude, and he will want to know a bit the same thing. To want to know now that you have seen the darkness of the forest, what do you think, Micariol? How do you feel about it? You know, maybe it would have been better to just leave it there and not go. What do you think? Some places are better left undisturbed, and my friends, the elves, can tell me which. So we'll see what happens there again. For Vernam, I think he loves this young man, at least he likes him, and he wants to protect him. He just wants to protect this young boy. For the moment, that's where he's at. And I might show you one last thing, just a bonus. But before that, if you like these videos, please comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. A comment goes a long way, even if it's just to say cheers. It really helps. And also, for those who don't know, I also write adventures. At least I wrote one, and I'm trying to write a second one. And the first one is called Playing with Goblins. You can find it on Drive-Thru RPG if you're curious. Here, I just wrote a few things about Manaud and Drot. Manaud is in Carvosti. It's in the second chapter, the Witch Hammer. Carvosti, the Witch Hammer. And he's on a fabled island in the middle of Lake Volgoma, and he says that he is the scion of Oroki, which is a spider. I'm saying that he's a fraud. He's not a god, but an ancient beast of godly strength. He is the brother of Drot Araka. Drot Araka is mentioned as being one such creature that lived in the region of Thistlehold. It's really not clear. They talk about it in the Tombs of Dying Dreams. I think there might be a slight mention somewhere in Wrath of the Warden, but I'm not even sure. But basically, when you do Tomb of the Dying Dreams, you see a mosaic where Urian Lo Apak, the king of the tomb that had the copper crown, uh, killing a guy with a hood. With his spear, he sort of kills a guy with a spear and wants to throw him in the well of Thistlehold. And in the background, there's this big toad creature running behind, and this toad creature would be Drot Araka, um, and could be the skeleton in Toad Square in Thistlehold, which I'm saying that that's exactly what happened. And what did happen, and that is supported by a lot of the canon stuff out there, is that the Crystal Isle and the lake under Thistlehold were coveted by the local princes of the area. And Urian Lo Apak was a very strong prince, king, and he sort of dominated everyone. So the idea that he killed a rival prince with his spear, and killed a toad creature, fits in the idea that before, the Crystal Isle was under control of this prince, whatever his name is, and this prince was allied to a toad creature, and was like his patron spirit or something. And when Urian Lo Apak invaded, he destroyed both of them and took control of the Crystal Isle. And so that's where I'm going with that. And the players will be able to learn some of that by doing library research. So they might even get the idea that there is this lake under Thistlehold before the events of Wrath of the Warden happen. I really don't mind. Actually, I like it that they learn this by themselves. They might even go to the Tomb of Dying Dreams before Wrath of the Warden starts. We'll see. And if they learn about that, they might go follow the cavern that Miresin will have found with his witch, and try to explore the underground. They might face some beasts from the Beast Clan, but they will be thwarted. They will be the tunnels will be hard to explore. The Beast Clan will avoid them. The Beast Clan might collapse certain tunnels to stop them from going through. So it will be like an ongoing process that's not going their way. And when they start getting really frustrated, then Wrath of the Warden happens. So because all of this is, as I say, I'm always saying the same thing, but it's really important, is that you need build up all the time. So I'm just creating build up, and I think that's a nice way to have their efforts in the library, research, magician kind of exploration pay off. And also other things like actual adventures like the Tomb of Dying Dreams, but also the encounter of Miresin with the witch, that each character in the group can sort of find out things and bring some puzzle pieces to the puzzle, and then together they can sort of jam them together. And of course, I couldn't never have planned this beforehand. That's why we need to prepare one session at a time. It doesn't, you can't prepare such a web of things. There's so many moving parts, so many factors. You cannot decide that beforehand. You just have to go with the flow. As soon as the players do something, it gives you an idea. You add a little bit. That's what I do. That's why I share it with you. It's just to see how this organic process is going along. So that's it for this prep video for session 35 that we are playing tomorrow night. So you'll have a session 35 recap pretty rapidly after that. Thanks for watching, and please have fun. Don't stress with prep. Keep it light, keep it bright, and see you next time. Ciao.